What's up, everybody? Welcome to today's video where today I'm going to be giving you some of my best tips and tricks for taking exams if you're a college student or a graduate student, you're in some kind of course, you're in school and you want to learn how to take a test and do well. If you're new here, I'm Josh. I'm a former doctorate of physical therapy student. I spent multiple years of my life spending all of my time studying, taking courses, learning how to take tests, how to take notes, how to retain information, how to not burn out, how to prioritize, how to balance, that kind of stuff. So if you like that kind of stuff, that's kind of stuff I talk about on my channel. So let's just get right into it. So exams are often very stressful for students, right? Many people struggle with knowing how to go about them, and knowing how to study for them. Just in general, they're in the middle of it. They don't know a question. They get flustered. They can't move on mentally because they don't know the answer, and they're stuck on that question, and then they rush to finish the test or whatever it may be. So I just want to give you a couple of tips that I use when I take tests, when I'm in school, and hopefully it's helpful for you as you move forward in your semester. So one thing I want to say as my first tip is when you're about to take your test, before you walk in, you kind of know the stuff that you know, and you kind of have some stuff that you know you don't know. So just to kind of bring it to the front of your mind right before the test, as you're walking to class, even try to have those notes in front of you, or even right as before you walk into the classroom, or right before the professor hands out the test. Try to get that stuff into your mind so it's there, and try to at least you have that piece of information at the forefront of your mind, and maybe you'll be able to answer the right answer on the test now that you just looked at it before you get tested on it. You might not hang on to it for the long term, but at least you'll be able to help you get through the test. So that's one of the tips that I have for you. And then this is what I used to do, because all of my exams for the most part were timed. You only had so much time to take the test. And so that's stressful, right? So one thing that you can do is when you're taking the test, only answer the ones right away that you know. So when you're going through your tests, say it's 50 questions, and you don't know question number 3 once you read it, just say, okay, I don't know this, skip it for now, look at question number 4, read it, answer it, 5, 6, 7, 8, all of a sudden you get to number 12, you don't know number 12, skip it for now, keep going, and just do all the ones that you know for the most part. And then once you finish getting those, at least now you've got those points, right? And you're not hung up on question 4 still trying to think about what the answer is. So that is something that I always did, and it was very helpful for me, and I didn't get all flustered because I didn't know a couple of questions, because you're not going to know all of the questions, right? I mean, most likely, maybe you will if you're like a really, really good student. But anyways, come back once you've answered the ones that you know, and then look at the ones you didn't know, and don't spend too much time on these ones now, because the clock is still ticking. So now maybe you're back to that original question, the first one that you skipped, and you're looking at it and you say, I really still don't know this one. Well, you have two options. Fill in an answer that you think might be it, or just, again, skip it for now and move on to the next one and see if maybe, as time went, sometimes the answers will come to you through reading other questions, or just, you're subconsciously thinking about it in the background. So that is what I used to do, and what I would suggest you do during your tests if you have anxiety about that. That way you can at least get the questions right that you know, and you've got a pretty solid guess for the other ones. Okay, so let's move on to multiple choice questions. If you're doing a multiple choice exam, which is very common these days, always try to think of the answer of the question before you actually look at the choices, because this forces you to look for a specific answer instead of falling for a one that looks close, or one that might be right, or it's worded tricky. Say it asks a question and you have A, B, C, D, maybe E as your options. Try to think really quickly as you're reading it what the answer is before you even look at the options. That way when you start looking for the options, you can read it and say, that's not what I'm looking for. Cross out cross out letter A. A is not what you're looking for. Then when it gets to the second option, of multiple choice answers, B, you can say, is this the right one? Nope. Now you know it's either C or D. The point is you're looking for the answer instead of looking to what might be the answer. And that always helped me because I knew what I was looking for because I already tried to pull the answer out once I read the question. As you're going through the test, one thing I forgot to say on the last point is if there's a few questions that you know you don't really know, I should have talked about this a little bit ago, but try to put a little mark if you can on the test, or like somehow write down the numbers, say number 4, I think I said, and 12 or whatever. Write down 4 and 12 or whatever, just quickly write those numbers down. So when you get to the end of answering the ones that you know, now you know the numbers of the ones that you don't know, and you can quickly go back to them. It really depends on the format of your test, but that's definitely helpful, especially if you only have a couple minutes at the end. Now you know the exact numbers of the questions that you didn't answer yet, that you were unsure of, and you can quickly just go to them and answer them and knock them out. So once you've finished the exam, if time permits and you feel like being really thorough, which I always did this because I wanted to make sure that I got every single question right, because oftentimes exams are heavily weighted into the overall grade, right? So if you can, you want to get every single question right that you can on the test. And so I would be very thorough with exams. I would go back. If there was 50 questions and I had a bubble sheet, I'd make sure I had 50 bubbles filled out. I would literally count them and go through and make sure every single one was filled out. Every once in a while, you'll realize you missed one or two or whatever, and like those are points on the table that you just got 0. You didn't even get an attempt to try to earn any because you didn't answer the question. So don't leave any blank. Be thorough. Make sure you answered all of them. Count to make sure that you answered every question. And if you really want to be thorough and you have the time, you can go back and just reread the question and look at the answers and reread your answers. Look at your answer sheet and make sure that the answer you filled out is the one that you wanted to fill out, and that, you know, maybe the question was worded a little funkily and you read it wrong the first time because you were in kind of a hurry and you weren't thorough, and it said which of these is not the right answer or something like that, and you answered it wrong because you read it wrong. So go back and reread the questions and, you know, just verify your answers, because again, you want to get all the points you can on your exams. So that's what I would do in that case. This is a tip that I have that I don't know if is very helpful for everybody, but they say if you don't know the answer and you took a guess at it, you know, you have option A, B, C, and D, and you thought the answer was maybe C. So you put C, and then you reread it because you have time, and you're like, oh, you know what, I don't know, maybe it's B, and then you erase it and change it to B. Most of the time they say that you actually probably had it right to begin with and that you shouldn't do that. I don't really know if that's true or not. It's just what I have heard, and oftentimes I've seen it true in my own cases when I go back and think that I should have changed it to this, and then I do, I get it wrong, and I already had it right the first time. So yeah, that's kind of some of the tips that I have for you. I probably have more, and I'll probably make another video that's a little more in-depth with more of my tips and tricks for tests for the actual exam time when you're taking the test, not leading up to it. Just physically, like we're talking about, it's exam day, we're just about to walk in, let's go. So try not to get flustered. Go into your test knowing that you're not going to know everything. You are going to have questions most likely that you don't know, and you're just going to have to leave blank or take a guess. And that's just the way it is. Like, unless you can get every single thing out of your class when you're taking it, the goal obviously is to be able to get 100% on the test. But you're going to have questions you don't know, and you're going to have to guess, and that's just the way it is. So be thorough. You know, don't spend too much time on any one question when you're going back through. Just take your time reading questions and be thorough with it. And yeah, I guess that's kind of all I have to say about it for now. If you can incorporate this advice into your tests, you're absolutely going to do better. I know, because, you know, it's always worked for me during my exams, and hopefully it calms your anxiety a little bit, having some strategy about stuff. If you have a specific question regarding exams that I didn't touch on, go ahead and comment on my video, and I'm happy to help you with that if I have some personal experience and some comments that could help you. And maybe I'll even make that into its own video. But in the meantime, best of luck on your exams coming up. I know we're a few weeks into January here, and exams are probably coming up this week or the following for exam ones for a lot of you guys that are students. I hope some of the stuff that I've been putting out is helping you. I know how stressful this time of the year can be, getting back into the spring semester after you kind of got burnt out in the fall semester. You had a few weeks off in the holidays, and now it's boom, right back into it. Just remember, it's a season. You're going to get through it. Breathe. Make sure you incorporate some fun. Do things to de-stress. Prioritize. Make sure you're, planning out when your tests are and kind of work your way backwards to when you should study, so you don't leave it till the last minute and then you don't remember any of it as you move forward, especially if you're going to be a graduate student. I'm kind of getting off track a little bit here, but I just wanted to say, it's a season and you're going to get through it and you're going to be fine, and try to learn from this test that you're about to take and take what you learn from it and apply that to the next test. And just keep applying and learning, and you're going to get better at taking your exams. In the meantime, like I said, comment on here if you have anything that I can help you with. And in the next video, I'm probably just going to make a video that is, around 10 minutes long. That's just me kind of spewing a bunch of tips and tricks that I have for you guys that I feel passionate that you should know going into your semester. So with that being said, best of luck on your exams, and I'll see you in the next video.